Good morning, Corey.
Good morning, Tim.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well today.
Good. Good. So here we are, another podcast,
Another Tuesday.
another Tuesday. Staff meeting, good staff meeting this morning.
It is a lot of energy.
Yep.
And coming to the end of the year, it's kind of hard to believe we're already in the middle, getting the middle of November. And
I know. Yeah. It's lots of going on this time of year. Of course, Thanksgiving right around the corner. Elizabeth's volleyball team in the middle of the state tournament. Second round tomorrow for them. Win and you keep going, lose and the season's over, which is a big deal for seniors.
right. Exciting, though.
As a senior. It's
Yeah.
exciting, but also a little nerve-wracking as a parent.
Right.
And so, yeah. So here we are. Thanksgiving. I just want to look at my calendar here. If I've got this right, is the 25th. Correct?
Sounds right.
Are you ready?
Well, we're already planning. We are going to gather with some family.
Okay.
And we talked about, getting our rapid tests and being able to gather with some immediate family, and looking forward to that.
Oh, all right.
It's been a couple of years for us, so
Rapid test, huh?
I think that's the way we're going to go.
Okay. I'm curious. Thanksgiving, do you have traditional foods that are a must to be a part of it?
I think it's all the regular traditional things. We usually typically have a large gathering with my husband's family and their extended family, and it's usually 20 to 25 people, and we all bring sides, and we all have our favorite. Mine is Brussels sprouts. The roasted Brussels sprouts are always delicious.
Those are good. Our whole family loves those. Usually put a little bit of honey on them or something and roast them that way. Turkey.
All the traditional turkey, stuffing. My mother-in-law's stuffing, perfect. And mashed potatoes, gravy.
Yep.
All that good stuff.
I was reading somewhere, probably just like on CNN.com or something, that this year it seems a lot of people are toying with the idea of not doing the traditional turkey.
Really?
And I don't know if that's because turkey prices have gone up.
And I
think they have.
Right. And then finding, I think, the right size birds, I think, are hard if you have a smaller group.
Yeah. Yeah. So the article was about, here are other ideas of things you could think about. So I was talking to Chris, like, well, maybe we should do something different. And she's like, well, like what? Because like one year, actually, I think it was last year, COVID, just immediate family. We had kumla, which is a big thing of ham with the bone-in ham, and then you make these potato balls, and you cook those in the broth, and it's basically a big old potato ball with ham, and it's a Norwegian thing, which we did last year, and that was good. But I think so. I said, well, how about a leg of lamb, and then we were kind of like, well, that's going to be about the same, if not more, than a turkey, because leg of lamb is already expensive, let alone in the day and age we're in now. And then Chris had mentioned prime rib, and I was like, well, we're just trying to get up there really pricey, aren't we? So, I don't know if we'll try something different or if we'll just go with the turkey, but I don't know. I'm at that point in my life where I think I've done so much turkey that I'm happy to try something different.
Okay.
That's
fair.
That's just me. So, and of course, then as soon as we have Thanksgiving, we go right into the holiday season. It'll be interesting to see how that goes with shopping and everything, because so many things are on boats in the middle of the ocean, and they're saying get your shopping done early if you want to have your stuff by Christmas.
Well, maybe that will bring people to a different place in thinking about the gifts and not just make it all about the commercial buying aspect.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, within all of this, we have religious traditions,
right?
Or we hopefully have religious traditions. Those were very abbreviated last year because of COVID. Everything was online. It was a super duper challenge. For those of you who maybe aren't aware, we are back in the worship space where the pews are and where the reredos, the beautiful wood background is. And we just got back in there this past Sunday, All Saints Sunday. And so at our staff meeting, we had to start thinking through, because we're here, the different traditional things that we do during the holiday season, especially since we're going to hopefully be able to continue to do those things in person. So I figured I'd draw attention to a couple things. And then, Corey, if you have questions about it, that somebody else probably has a very similar question. So we're coming to the end of the liturgical year, which always starts with Advent, the season of Advent, which is the first 4 Sundays before Christmas Day. So that means most often, not always, but most of the time, that last Sunday in November becomes the first Sunday of the new year liturgically. Now, we're used to the new year being January 1st. But for Christians, most of the Western Christian traditions, we begin Advent 4 Sundays before Christmas. So this year, it's going to fall on the 28th of November. And so we'll have Advent 1 starting in basically 2.5 weeks.
So I know, and it's hard to believe that we're already going to be in that season soon. And I know Advent is a time to get ready to celebrate the birth of Jesus.
Yep.
But why does the liturgical year start in Advent? Is there a reason?
Oh, well, there are definitely well-written stories about that. But I think there just came a point in the church's history where the liturgical year got developed based on where Christmas and Easter fall. So because Christmas became a primary holiday in December, and there's, of course, all kinds of conversation about, was that in response to pagan things that were happening at the winter solstice and stuff like that. But with the establishment of Christmas as December 25th, I guess you could say we're going to start with the prophecies. We're going to start a liturgical year with the prophecies foretelling the coming of a Messiah. And then we have that Messiah. As Christians, we believe that Messiah is Jesus Christ, who we celebrate's birth on December 25th. Although I think if you were actually to really look into that, he was probably more born sometime in the spring, but And so we have the start of the liturgical year, in a sense, kind of beginning with the prophetic voice saying, lo, there's, a Savior coming. We celebrate the birth of that Messiah for us Christians. Other traditions have different thought process about that. We celebrate that with Christmas, and then we continue to build that liturgical year also alongside of when Easter falls. And Easter is calculated by the first full moon between a particular date in March and a particular date in April. We figure out Easter on that day. And then that helps kind of determine the calendar in front of it with Lent, the season of Lent, which always begins with Ash Wednesday for us Western Christians. And then it also helps determine the Pentecost season. 50 days after Easter, we celebrate Pentecost, and we have a Pentecost season, which is the longest season. It's the color green. And we're in Pentecost right now. We're coming to the end of Pentecost season, which will be the 21st. So if we have the 28th as the start of Advent, so yes, the 21st will be what we call Christ the King Sunday. Kind of everything culminates, ends, is taken into Christ as the universe, as the Pantocrator, or the King of the universe. All wonderfully eloquent language, but also kind of tied in with the relationship that Christianity developed with the empire. Kingly language. So that's kind of that's a very rough sketch of how it developed.
Right. And then you mentioned green, and I know, so we see the changes even in the colors that
Yep.
are displayed. And I know during the staff meeting, you were all talking about the music
Yep.
and how those things change through the calendar year too. So
Mm-hmm.
as Advent comes in, we'll see blue or purple.
Blue. So there, and that's an excellent question, because people get confused by that. Historically, for Episcopalians, Catholics, maybe Lutherans, some of your more liturgical churches, you always had purple at Advent, 4 weeks, and then Lent, 6 weeks. Purple's kind of a color of royalty, and thinking of Jesus as King of Kings, Lord of Lords. But it also symbolizes that season of penitence. And Lent, 6 weeks before Easter, has always been a penitential season where we repent, we turn back to the Lord, we seek forgiveness for our wrongdoings, and we focus on our need to turn back to God. And so it's penitential. And a lot of that gets symbolized in kneeling at prayer time and things. Well, within Christianity, the history of Christianity, Advent kind of became this idea of a little Lent or a little penitential season, which I think I think that's misinformed. I think that we should save the penitential season for Lent, thus purple, because that's the color that's been associated with it. And then in Advent, I like to go with what we call Sarum Blue. And this kind of really has some English roots to it, Britain and the connection to the Church of England. Sarum Blue, I think, gives a distinctive nature to Advent. And I don't like to think of it as a season of penitence, although if somebody does, God bless them. If they want it to be a little Lent, that's fine. But I like to look at it as a season of anticipation. We're anticipating the birth of the Messiah and the celebration of that. And in anticipating, there can be penitence in anticipating, but I think it gives us a little bit more of a focus on an excitement of what is to come, which we also in Advent not only remember the birth of Christ, but we also celebrate and proclaim that Christ will come again. So there's this dual role going on in Advent of celebrating and remembering Christ's birth, but also celebrating that Christians believe that Christ will come again, the second coming of Christ. Now that's loaded, and there's a history within Christianity of how people understand and perceive that and what'll happen when that takes place. So we actually get some pretty challenging readings during the season of Advent. The second coming of Christ, we hear about John the Baptist, foretelling, giving a prophetic voice out in the wilderness. So, but I like to use blue, so it's its own distinct character. But if somebody wants to use purple, many still do use purple.
I had noticed that we had used purple, and when you kind of changed that, and it just made me think of, that is different, and it kind of focuses your attention a little differently and keeps them separated.
It does. Yeah. And one of the other things that always becomes a challenge at Christmas time, I want to remind everybody, I think most of the Episcopalians we know are aware of this. The 12 days of Christmas is from Christmas until the Feast of the Epiphany. So December 25th to January 6th.
Is that Three Kings Day?
Three Kings Day is also what we understand as Epiphany. Epiphany is not only a day, it's always January 6th, but it's also a season. So you have the day of Epiphany, and then you have the season of Epiphany, and the length of that gets determined in relationship to Easter based on how Ash Wednesday is going to fall and all of that. So, so the 12 days of Christmas, the classic song, is actually the celebration that Christmas is a season, not just a day. But the consumerist world has affected how we understand it. In fact, you will find some stores will say, we're having our 12 days of Christmas sale, and they'll count 12 days before Christmas Day. And that's misleading. I mean, if they want to call that their 12 days of Christmas, but that for us Christians is still the season of Advent. So we're in that season of 4 weeks of anticipating and preparing for the coming of the Christ child, for the second coming, however we may want to look at that. And then we get to Christmas, and the whole Christmas, on the first day of Christmas, technically, people would give gifts throughout the Christmas season. We had a tradition in our family for a while that we would give a gift every day during the season of Christmas to each other.
Well, that sounds fun.
It's a lot of fun, and it's supposed to be fun, but we get the consumerism because they're playing Christmas songs now.
Right.
In stores, we haven't even hit Thanksgiving. And with Black Friday and all of the consumerism around that, by the time we get to Christmas Day, we are so mentally and emotionally exhausted. We're like, putting the tree away, I'm done. Some diehard Christian homes won't even put their Christmas tree up until Christmas Eve, going into Christmas Day, keep it up for those 12 days and then take it down.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, I've already got mine out by the garbage. So, and what's really cool about it is there's some beautiful stuff within these traditions.
It is. It's really, really interesting when you start looking at the whole picture. And I didn't realize how Lent was really determined, backing up like that. So,
yeah, Lent and Advent both.
Yeah, okay.
So, and what's also interesting, which again, we Episcopalians have a book of occasional services, which has some additional things you can do in some of these special seasons. Here at OSA, we have traditionally done 2 events during Advent that really kind of have a Christmassy feel to them.
Mm.
One is Tidings of Comfort and Joy, which we're going to talk about here. And then also a Lessons and Carols. What a lot of people don't know is there are 2 forms or liturgies for Lessons and Carols within the Book of Occasional Services. There's one that's a Christmas Lessons and Carols, which takes place in that Christmas season, December 25th to January 6th. There's also an Advent Lessons and Carols, which adds to the 4 weeks of preparing for the coming of the Christ child.
And is that meant to be done once a week, or is that?
I think it depends on what a group decides to do. A lot of places, some bigger churches will not only have an Advent Lessons and Carols, but then they'll have a Christmas Lessons and Carols. And you'll be able to see and feel the distinction between the 2. One is a foretelling, hearing the prophetic voice, and one is a celebration that Christ is amongst us. God is with us, Emmanuel.
Which is the one we've traditionally
done a Christmas Lessons and Carols in the season of Advent. Your liturgical purists, they would tisk at that. But this year, we were just talking as a staff this morning, we're going to spread our wings a little bit. We are still going to do Tidings of Comfort and Joy, but we're going to try to kind of take it up a notch, try to make it more of a festive celebration. I suppose you could say, we could call it maybe it really have a Christmas party with that. And I want everybody to know the date for Tidings. And this, of course, will go out in your midweek minute, which I know everybody's reading faithfully every week. Is the 19th of December is going to be our Tidings and Joy. Tidings of Comfort and Joy. We're going to have a celebration. We're going to invite people like we traditionally have to sing, play music, dance, whatever it might be, make it a festive occasion. We're going to add some other things, be a surprise.
That's our family always looks forward to that time to gather and celebrate Christmas season together. It really is. And we've done it in all kind of forms. And I know it started as a group sing along, and it's kind of evolved into what it is now. And, last year we were able to do it online, and, it was great.
It worked for what we were experiencing. We didn't even think about it. A year ago, we didn't have vaccines.
Right.
And we were still, a year ago, November, numbers were going back up and everybody was hitting the panic button again.
Right. And we were really confined to doing everything online, and people had to record
Yeah. Submit
there.
it to
Yep.
us. Yeah.
So this year we're planning in person, which is really exciting, and it will be great to gather together and celebrate and enjoy
Absolutely.
this season together. So
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
I am too. And we're going to do that on the 19th this year. And we're going to do lessons and carols a little bit earlier, but we're going to do the Advent lessons and carols on the 12th of
Okay.
December.
So something different there to look forward to. And there'll be different readers like there traditionally are with
Though there's still several readings that
Okay.
get read, so we'll need readers to read. There'll be
Okay.
different music, but some of the music will really emphasize the Advent theme of anticipation. Now, if we really want to pull out all the stops, when we get to the Christmas season, we'll also do a Christmas lessons and carols, which we could pull off if we did that as worship on one of our days of Christmas, one of our Sundays during the season of Christmas. So maybe we'll do that. But for sure, we're doing an Advent lessons and carols, and we are doing tidings of comfort and joy. And then, of course, this year, Christmas Eve falls on a Friday, and we're going to have one service this year.
Okay. I think that's usually, what we have done most of the time.
Mhm.
So
Couple of years, my first couple of years here, we did an early one at like 4:30 or 5, and then we did an 8 o'clock with a 7:30 prelude of music. Huge good news is that we received a gift to cover the special musicians for Christmas Eve. So we are going to have a 7:30 prelude of a half hour of beautiful Christmas music, string
quartet that
soloists.
we've had for
Yes.
years. It's a great tradition, and it's such beautiful music.
It's just going to be magnificent. And so we're going to have that, and then we will do that at 7:30 with an 8 o'clock Christmas Eve liturgy. So a little bit different from previous years. I can't remember in COVID if we just did one service or if we did two online.
I think
we just did one. Yeah. So we're going to stick with one for Christmas Eve. And then we're going to live into that kind of as a whole community together. And I'm really excited for what we're going to be able to do with the music. Now that we are able to have our special musicians. But even before all of that, we're doing something a little bit different this year. Mm-hmm. Traditionally, because we know that Thanksgiving weekend becomes chaotic, lots of people are out of town. Our patron saint, St. Andrew, his saint day is the 30th of November.
That's a
Tuesday. We have typically the Sunday before Thanksgiving celebrated our patron saint for practical purposes, because we know that trying to do it on Thanksgiving weekend, which is a little bit closer to his actual day, becomes complicated because people are gone.
And I think you said it's Advent, the start of Advent.
It is the start of Advent. That is correct. So we are stretching our wings a little bit, trying on something different, and that is we're going to actually celebrate St. Andrew's Day on his actual feast day. So our patron saint, we're going to celebrate November 30th. 6 o'clock is what I think we set for the time. We're going to have a liturgy, and then we're going to have a St. Andrew's party. That's going to involve everything from a raffle prize, a raffle prize that's still a secret, but we identified what we want to get for the raffle prize today. People have the opportunity to buy tickets for that. We're looking at having a special evening of bingo.
That's always fun.
Yes, and it's going to be a special sort of bingo.
Okay.
Not just bingo as we're used to. And then we're going to have food. We're going to have real Scottish food. Now, you know the Scottish food, Corey. What was it that everybody was, oh, that's so gross?
So we're not going to do blood pudding or haggis or anything too extreme. So we're going to keep it more mainstream. Traditional meat pies, pastry, some spiced meat, sausage rolls, that kind of thing.
Excellent.
And I'm sure there'll be
maybe some cabbage rolls we'll throw in there for somebody who's a vegetarian.
Exactly.
Yeah. So folks, I can't stress enough, this is going to be a big celebration of our patron saint, which is what you're supposed to do on your saint day. So I want to encourage everybody, mark your calendars, come be a part of that. It's going to be an excellent event. And it's actually going to kind of kick off
Our
the
holiday.
Advent Christmas season,
Right.
which is kind of what's beautiful about our saint falling where he does, because he pretty much always falls in. On the rare occasion, if it starts on a like December 1st or something, we might miss it, but it's always right there in Advent. So it's a great way to kick it off.
Right. And I'm not sure you mentioned the bagpiper.
Oh, bagpiper. How about bagpipers? We have 2 bagpipers this year, and we're going to start our liturgy outside on the brick walkway, and weather permitting, of course. And we're going to have our bagpipers outside, and we're going to then process into the church, have our liturgy, and do all the celebration with that, celebrate our saint, patron saint, and then have a party.
Sounds like a great time.
Sounds like a good way to kick off Christmas. Oh, and I do want to mention that we have put a phone call into Santa.
Let's hope we can get on his schedule,
so we can get him here for tidings. He's been here in the past for tidings. We're hoping that we're a little later than usual getting him on the calendar, but we're hoping that he'll be able to make his way here for the tidings celebration. So kids, parents of kids, you can look forward to hopefully seeing Santa here. Speaking of Christmas traditions, we talked a little bit about Thanksgiving traditions, but since Christmas is right around the corner, any specific traditions that you have as a family at Christmas?
Well, I mean, we what we've done in the past involves the church, and we're usually here, and we've tried to have the votive lights outside.
Yep.
And we've done that for Christmas Eve service for many years, and so usually we do that, and we go home and we have our Christmas Eve dinner after the service.
Yep.
And we put our reindeer food out still.
Oh, absolutely.
Sparkly, including the sparkles on it, because that's what attracts the reindeer.
Excellent. So. Do you have a specific food at Christmas? I mean, turkey at Thanksgiving. Do you have anything at Christmas?
We like to change it up, and we like to cook, and it's usually something that's special.
Yeah.
And we like to always sit and enjoy a meal together with our family. And in the past, we've had some friends that are not Christian come and join us. And they're always so open to hear about our traditions. And so hopefully we'll see with COVID, but that's kind of been what we've done, including our immediate family.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we have Christmas Eve. That's typically when we have our big major meal. And for several years now, lots of years, we've had what's called a Christmas Eve soup, which is a cheese and broccoli based soup with shrimp in it.
Oh.
And it's out of this world. And so we've typically had that. I can't remember if we had that last year. I think we did. And that's been my mom's tradition and her recipe. And Chris has the recipe now. So she cooks it. And if we're not with my parents. And so that has always been a part of the tradition. And we typically, as a family, have done opening of gifts on Christmas Eve, not necessarily Christmas Day. We tried to keep it as you can open one gift on Christmas Eve, but you know how that snowballs. And the other thing that we've had that we do during the holiday season, which typically is on Christmas Eve, because we're not necessarily together as a family with extended family on New Year's Eve, is eating a piece of pickled herring for good luck.
Oh.
And so a few years back, the kids were getting to the age where they could participate in this. And pickled herring.
Is it good?
It's okay. And it also depends on the brand you buy, but it's definitely pickled, but also very fishy. So, as we got older, became adults, we'd take our one and swallow it. We're good. Chris's dad loved pickled herring because he's Norwegian. So, but one year it was finally the kids decided they want to participate in it. And I think Elizabeth, forced it down. And Aiden, I don't know. And he took it in. It was all over. He
Oh,
didn't.
no.
He didn't make it.
Oh, no.
He couldn't eat it. Everything came up. It was an ugly scene, and I don't think he's had one since.
I don't blame him. It sounds a little.
It's tough. It's tough, and you really want to make sure it's pickled, heavily pickled. So, anyways, that's been a tradition for good luck. It's kind of comes from my Lithuanian heritage. So, yeah. So it's hard to believe it's here.
It is. We're counting the days down.
Counting the days down. Halloween's behind us, and now we're moving forward towards Thanksgiving. So everybody who is either listening now or will be listening and viewing the podcast later, we're moving into that busy holiday season, and we want to invite you to make sure that you keep Old St. Andrews a part of your traditions, because there's so much that we do here. Think about it. We're a community that goes back to 1740. There has been a ton of tradition that has passed through Old St. Andrews. And so keeping a hold of those traditions, celebrating our past while moving into the future by living in the present. I hope that OSA will be a part of your plans this holiday year, because there's lots to do here.
I hope so too. Even if maybe you haven't made it back, well, since we've been in person, maybe this is an opportunity to get back, have a reason, to come back and remember those traditions and
absolutely
and be with the community here.
Yep, definitely. Well, that's all I've got this morning.
Yeah,
all right. Well, folks, thanks for joining us. We pray that you have a blessed rest of your week. Enjoy this beautiful sunshiny day, and we will see you next time on Making It Real.